Patrick, Gavin, Politico. It is now time to turn the table with Al Hunt, host of Bloomberg's Political Capital with Al Hunt. Al, let me get your take on what's going on with Ukraine. The president has obviously warned Ukraine that there would be consequences if this violence continues. What are his options if, in fact, that violence does continue and they don't heed his warning?
Well, sanctions and trying to get others to engage in that, but they're much more limited, Patrick. We have to understand that we are the world's greatest superpower, but we don't have the kind of clout and ability to affect events that we might have 30 or 40 years ago. Whatever we do, the Russians would probably counter. So I think we can talk a lot. We can use moral suasion, some economic sanctions, but not much. Let's just hope that this latest truce holds.
Do you have any sense about whether or not the fallout, if there was any, from the recent happenings in Syria and the red line and the Obama's policy on that, has perhaps affected his stature when it comes to warning other countries, perhaps that they look back on that incident and think that perhaps his warnings aren't as serious as perhaps he initially says they are?
It's hard to think that it doesn't have some effect, but in this particular instance, I'm not quite sure if Syria had never occurred, if other threats had not been made, that it would have changed the picture a whole lot. I just don't think we have a lot of standing here and a lot of influence. But certainly when he says, I'm drawing a red line, and then he moves the red line when he says there'll be consequences and there really aren't consequences, that has to hurt his credibility elsewhere.
Back here at home, change CPI is not in the president's proposed budget. Do we have any sense, and of course there is here in Washington this blame game about why that isn't the case, coming both from the White House and Congress. What is your outlook on whether or not a compromise is actually possible for this to happen?
I think it's very unlikely. I think the White House position, the Democrats' position, has been good. We'll give an entitlements if you give them taxes. And what the Republicans basically have said is no deal. You could get a deal along the lines of Simpson-Bowles and Domenici-Rivlin from the White House, I believe. And it would be tough with congressional Democrats, but you could force them to come along. But Republicans have said absolutely no.
All right, Al, tell us about your program this weekend.
Well, the governors are in town, as you know, Patrick. Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, who I think is a really interesting governor. New Hampshire is always interesting in a political sense, and it's a state, as you know, everybody who is in high office in that state's a woman. So we'll be talking to one of them.
All right, Al Hunt with Bloomberg's Political Capital with Al Hunt. Thanks a lot for joining us.